We would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that Mass Poetry and Salem, Massachusetts are on the ancestral territory of the Wampanoag, Nipmuc, Massachusetts, Nomekeeg, and Agawam. Many other Indigenous communities have lived and moved through this land over hundreds of years, and many Indigenous people work and live in these regions today. Let's take a moment to honor these ancestral grounds that we are collectively gathered upon and support the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people have shown worldwide. We at Mass Poetry are intentional about ensuring that events are accessible to everyone attending and involved in the festival. We have closed captions available for this event. If you can't see them, you can turn them on by clicking the live transcript button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and then show subtitles. If you would like to turn them off, you can choose hide subtitles. For anyone who is depending on auto captions today, to ensure chat messages are not popping up over the captioning, click on chat at the bottom of the screen and it will open a chat panel to the right. If you experience any trouble with this or any other logistics today, please send a private chat message to myself, Kate Moss, or Barbara Matteau, and we will help you. Regarding Zoom etiquette, please keep yourself muted unless you are invited to unmute by the speakers. There are many ways to interact with each other via the chat and the Zoom reactions button, so please feel free to use them as a way to engage. Please be kind and respectful to the event producers and your fellow participants. We will remove participants for discriminatory or harassing comments, and in such cases, participants may be banned from further festival participation. Thank you for your patience, and we hope you enjoy the event. And I'm going to hand this over to Maria.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is María Luisa Arroyo. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and ella. I'm so delighted to have Jean-Dany Joachim and Rhina Espaillat on this panel about voices in translation. And I'm going to have Jean-Dany share shortly about his vision for this work, for this panel discussion. I'm delighted to be on this discussion. And what we are imagining in terms of the flow of this is that we will each talk a little bit about the process, and then we will read 4 poems, 2 in the original language and their translations. And then that will prompt, hopefully conversations from the participants here. The intent is that this is a conversation that you are all joining in. So this is all these streams of questions are joining in together. So I would like to pass it over to Jean-Dany because he was the original visionary of this panel discussion.
Thank you, Maria. Greetings, everyone. The joy is also mine to be with all of you. I thank you for coming to this forum, and also what a joy to be with Maria and Rhina in poetry, in translation. So further on what Maria already said, what we will not do today is just to read you poetry in translation. That, of course, we'll have so much fun to do, but we won't do that. And our hope is that we can contaminate you with that way of life that is ours, existing in translation. If you are here, that means you're somewhat interested in it, or you're already interested. But we want you to remain to this one, for your existence to turn into dictionaries and words, languages, and people like us, we do that, existing from one language to the other in the art of poetry. So Rhina, it's your turn.
Well, what I'd like to say is thank you for making me part of this. Any group that includes all these wonderful people is fine with me, and my buddy is over there, Jean-Dany, and I'm very happy to be with Maria. I can't imagine a library without translation. I think it would take one room really to have all of the English work. If that's all we have, then a small room would do. But the world is very big, and we have so much, such riches, that really translation is a highly underrated art. I wish that there were more attention to it, more funding for it, more occasion for it, because we need it very badly, and particularly now when we are living as if we were among strangers instead of among family, which is what we are. As to how it takes place, well, I think that people like Jean-Dany and myself, we kind of live in it from childhood up. I've been thinking in English since I was 7 years old, but of course my first language is Spanish. I'm from the Dominican Republic, and I'm used to having echoes in my head because what I say it awakens an echo in the other language. And that's how I live, and it's interesting. It's interesting. It keeps me tied to roots that very often link me to other languages that I don't even know I understand. I've had experiences in places where I have heard something and I said, I don't know what that is, but I know what they said to each other. And it's because it's Esperanto or some kind of Romanian, which has a lot of Latin in it. So I walk through the world sometimes hearing familiar things that I don't expect to hear. I don't always know what language a poem is going to come in. It comes in whatever language it pleases. And it only lets me know after a while what it is that it wants to say. The first thing I hear is a drum beat. The drum beat is replaced by words. The words tell me, this is what's on your mind. And it's going to happen in Spanish this time, or with a little bit of Yiddish in it, or a lot of English, or what have you. So I think at this point, what I would like to do is read one poem, and then I'll go back to the process of translation itself. This is called coplas, which means stanzas, and it's called Coplas Nací en la Ciudad Primada. I was born in the first city. And I'm going to read just one stanza of it in English, the English translation, so that you'll know what I'm talking about, but then I'll read maybe just 2 or 3 in Spanish so that you can hear the echoes that I hear in my head all the time. I was born in the first city from which this continent rose. Fed by the rivers of all the world, water from my fountain flows. I grew in tender Quisqueya, in the valley called Cibao, shaded by caimito trees and papaya and cacao. Now you've heard the names of foods there, you're going to recognize them. You've heard nací, which is to be born. You've heard ciudad, which a lot of you know is city, and puente and mundo. A lot of familiar words that have roots that you speak all the time yourself. So here it is in English, in Spanish. Nací en la ciudad primada, donde nació el continente. De todos los ríos del mundo, fluye el agua de mi fuente. Crecí en Quisqueya, la suave, en el valle del Cibao, en la sombra del caimito, de la papaya y el cacao. En el patio de mi casa, 2 words that you know, patio and casa, of course. En el patio de mi casa, en el amor de mis viejos, aprendí canto y costumbre, cuentos y cultos añejos. La marchanta y su batea, el dulcero y su pregón, el cafecito en la tarde, la virgen y la oración. En mi sangre corre España, la Costa de Oro y Haití. Taíno, negro y negrero, los 3 se juntan en mí. Con el más recién llegado, árabe, chino, judío, porque el que pisa mi tierra renace hecho hermano mío. Aprendí luego el exilio que impone la tiranía. Por eso vivo tan lejos de la tierra que fue mía. Sé lo que dictan los años, lo que enseñan las distancias. No deja de ser humano quien cambia de circunstancias. Y aunque lo niegue quien quiera, somos hermanos de cuna. Nos parió la misma tierra y toda la tierra es una. So I'm sure that whether you realize it or not, you heard a lot of familiar roots there. And you must have heard also that it's rhymed, because one of the things I think about rhyming, about translation, is that whatever the original does, you really need to do in the translation. If it rhymes, you rhyme yours. If it has figures of speech, use figures of speech. You may have to change them. You may not be able to use the very same ones, but you need to get as close to what the original poet gave the reader as you possibly can. You have to keep the meter more or less the same, because you don't want to give the reader a song that has more or less the same words but different music. And if you take out the rhyme and the meter, you're giving him different music. So try as hard as you can to make the music the same, to give the reader the illusion of listening to the same poem as if the poet had written it in that language. And that's my bit right now. And now I'm going to get back to Jean-Dany and see what he has to add to that. And then we'll go back and forth, I think. Or
Yeah,
maybe Maria wants to add something.
yeah, Maria. What?
Oh, so let me jump in. For those who are on the call, please feel free to use the chat to ask clarifying questions. Number one, you can also use the reactions as well. You saw I put a heart, when Rhina was writing. And also, please forgive me, those who are here on Zoom. And Maria José Giménez, unfortunately, due to illness, was not able to come. So we're just going to send her well wishes there. And also in response to Rhina, again, the flow, I was fascinated by your code switching. So in the English poem, in integrating Spanish words and phrases, and it was mellifluous. It was a wonderfully seamless in. And also in terms of relationship with language, that's what you were underscoring, that we have this intimate relationship with sounds. And you initiated first with sounds, then with language, and then etymologies, and with this wonderful, this perpetual optimism that you have, that we are of all one language family, no matter how different it is. Very well
I
stated.
believe that. I believe that. And you know what I'm doing here is not really, what did you call it? You called it code trading?
Oh, code switching.
Code switching. It's not code switching. What I'm doing is in the translation, using as many words as I can that have the same root in the original language, so that the reader will have the sense of, well, I haven't moved that far from home after all.
Yeah.
Because I
So-
recognize that, and I recognize
With the
that.
code switching though, is like when you, because it is code switching in that if you use the original Spanish word into English, even in the phrase, that is code switching,
Yes.
So, and that is code switching. Code meshing would be different. Some of you maybe recognize that within one language, in English, using dialect, slang, or regional English, and so forth. Yeah, these are just all, we know the terms. But Jean-Dany,
Don't you have the feeling, Maria, that the first thing that we need to do, whether we're working as poets or translators, is to let the reader in the door?
Yes.
I think that you have to invite him in.
Yes.
Because well, you all know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Definitely.
absolutely.
And for all of you who are here joining us for this presentation, I would like to echo something Rhina said before reading her poem, her first poem. It's for us in the panel here presenting to you, writing now, we have to wait to follow the signal of the creation is going to tell us in what language I want to come, where do I come, and sometimes even being in that particular language, you will have fragments of other languages coming. I mean, it's a beautiful experience. It has its challenges too, but it's beautiful. It's like you're living with many of yourselves inside your head in terms of language. So my hope is that I'm going to add another aspect is that please, if you only speak English, don't be afraid. You see, we have tons of dictionaries. Later on, I'm going to show you. I brought my stack of dictionaries to show you. French to English, French to Spanish, Spanish to English, Creole. This is it. And I have something for you at the end to dare. We have to, it's beautiful. I want you guys after this to enter our world a little bit, to know how we exist. And you see how fun it is. And don't feel threatened. And existing like that, make you feel proud to show your vulnerability. What do I know when I translate the poem to Spanish and send it to Rhina, then send it to my many other friends? It's a beautiful world. So this is the joy that we want to pass on you today through the time we're sharing with you in this program.
That's right.
So Maria, will you read something now or do I read something
Yeah.
first?
Oh, please, Jean-Dany, as you're speaking, you go, I'll go last.
Okay, what I'll do, I will share my page with you. I'll let you see a poem, the first poem I'm going to read to you that speak of immigration. It's called Immigrant. Can you all see this page, my page? Do I have access to let?
Yes, you do. And Jean-Dany, would you mind zooming it up a little bit larger?
Yes, let me go to 125. That's what I do with my students. Is it better or do we need 150? Okay, let's do 150 first.
Wonderful.
Can you all see my page clearly? The crowd, you can say yes, you can say something and somebody will let me know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, life is good.
Yeah.
So this poem now, let me be truthful. Did I write it in English or Creole? You see, this is what happened. After a while, you forget. You can't remember it, but I'm pretty sure that was in English because I remember where I was. I was at a conference here. So this poem is called Immigrant in English. I am from the ocean. I am from sugar cane. I am from writing poetry. I am from happiness. I am words with no curves. I am the mainland with no boundaries. I am hope tinted with shadow. I am heavy rain. I am here. I am now. I am staying. Immigrant. And now check this out in Creole. Moi c'est petite lanmè, moi c'est petite chancan, moi c'est petite poésie, moi sorti dans triple la joie. Moi c'est parole sans chapeau, moi c'est grand lac ou pas gen lisier. Moi c'est l'espoir qu'en ballon braille, m'se tempête la pli, m'se sawea, m'se kounyea. Moi pas fait yon pakita, yon panago. Immigrant. So that is the poem. That's the same spirit, the same thing in two culture, two music, two, you come from the music from Haiti and then to the jazz in America. I mean, when you get it in Spanish, you don't know if you're dancing salsa or merengue or bachata. This is it. It's a translation, give you an invitation to travel, to exist in so many forms. And this is it. That's the joy, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we want you. At the end, I want you to feel contaminated, that you will all want to try this experience, which is a window of our way of lives. So that's my first poem to you. And Maria, vas-y, it's your turn.
Thank you so much. And Jean-Dany,
I'll stop sharing.
As you were reading, all the audience members as well, in terms of how reinforcing that our voices are our instruments.
Yes.
So I really appreciate, again, hearing your voice as an instrument of your poem, to give that the tonality of it.
Yes, yes.
I will share my screen to share a poem, because I'm multilingual. My first language is Spanish. I'm Puerto Rican, Puertorriqueña, born in Manatí, Puerto Rico, and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts. My second language is English, and K through 12 and so forth. And my third language that inhabits my body, my imagination, and also my degrees is German. So Deutsch ist meine Muttersprache. Yeah. And I am writing a series of essays, because often it's a question like, how did a Puerto Rican end up taking German? That's a long story. So it will explode the confines of one poem. But nevertheless, what I have noticed is there are two beacons throughout my life: women and poetry. And when I was in German studies, women, particularly German Jewish women poets who went into exile during the Nazi period, their realities fascinated me, because they had this, I connected with their biographies, first with their poems and then their biographies, and finding affinities with that. Because yes, as a Puerto Rican woman of color, feeling like a double outsider here in my own home country, because people are questioning my accent, questioning my name, questioning my skin color, it's like, you know what, I belong here. you know, and through the medium of studying German literature, I found that in my imagination, I could belong in that space and own it, you know, as a language. So here I have, and so my first poem will be a poem originally written by Hilde Domine. Hildegard, her original birth name is Hildegard Löwenstein. And during the Nazi period, she was not able to get a visa to come to the United States. So she and her husband, Elvin Palm, ended up in Italy, then Great Britain, and then finally in Dominican Republic. And so when she started writing poetry in the Dominican Republic, she intentionally changed her last name from Löwenstein, her married name was Palm, to Domine. And when she started writing in poetry in DR, she's multilingual, but she insisted on German and insisted that if her homeland is in the air, Heimat in der Luft. All right, so this is a poem originally in German, and then which I translated, and I had the joy and the honor of winning the 2019 Diana de Herfonesian Prize, which is sponsored by the New England Poetry Club. And also as a footnote, please note, Jean-Dany and I are joyfully New England Poetry Club Advisory Board members as of last August. So this August will be our first year. So ziehende Landschaft. Man muss weggehen können und doch sein wie ein Baum, als bliebe die Wurzel im Boden, als zöge die Landschaft und wir ständen fest. Man muss den Atem anhalten, bis der Wind nachlässt und die fremde Luft uns zu kreisen beginnt, bis das Spiel von Licht und Schatten, von Grün und Blau die alten Muster zeigt und wir zu Hause sind, wo es auch sei, und niedersitzen können und uns anlehnen, als sei es an das Grab unserer Mutter. Now in English, and this is going to echo what Rhina was sharing in terms of with the original poem, keeping to the same cadence, keeping to the same line lengths to emulate the music in the original language. Moving landscape. You should be able to leave and yet be like a tree, as if rooted to the ground, as if the landscape were moving past us and we stood still. You must hold your breath until the wind eases up and the foreign air begins to circle us, until the interplay of light and shadow, from green to blue, shows us the former pattern, and we are at home, wherever that may be, and we can sit down and lean as if against the grave of our mother. All right. So that will be my first poem. And again, I want to invite individuals, if you'd like to share questions in the chat, please feel free to do so. And I'm going to pass it back over to Rhina. Rhina?
Maria, you might need to stop sharing.
Oh, my bad.
No problem. But
Thank
although
you.
I don't see Rhina. I do not see Rhina. Did she? Okay, no pasa nada. She knows the way. She will come back.
Here I am.
Oh, okay, here she is.
Okay. So yeah. So in terms of process, I'm loving this flow of conversation. Again, Jean-Dany, in terms of my echo effect with him, his voice is his instrument, you know, and that he aimed and he owns, you know, the music of his voice in English with joy. What's one thing that I impress upon students, you know, I teach at Bay Path University, writing and so forth, in terms of reading aloud, how many of our students or how many of us as poets perhaps become self-conscious about the sounds of our voices.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I have an accent, or oh my gosh, I sound funny, or oh my gosh, you know, and so or I've had to counter, oh my gosh, I'm not reading it like the original poet intended. You know that there is no singular interpretation of poems.
No.
Reading a poem is like a music score, all right? It'll inflect it differently, and giving ourselves permission to do that.
That's right. That's
Rhina,
right.
yes.
Well, That's why translations have to be done again and again with every generation, because the language ages and the poem doesn't sound the same anymore in that language that was spoken last week.
Mhm.
But now we need a new interpretation, a new sound that sounds closer to what the original poet had in mind. And
See,
that's very hard to do, but it's fun because it keeps poetry fresh. What
definitely.
I'd like to do now is read my original poem, which I read for you in Spanish. I'm going to read it in my own English translation now, and we'll see how much of it seems familiar to you, because I'm guessing that you know what I'm talking about.
Excuse me.
Before you start, Rhina, we don't see you. You probably by mistake turn off your camera.
Well, let me start video.
Okay.
You cannot start video because the host has stopped it.
Oh, that's easy to solve. Our good volunteer will take care of us.
Maybe it's better without my face. I don't know.
No. We want to see. Want to see where the music of the poem is coming from.
Okay, if you want to be masochistic, go ahead, put my face up.
Is this something you can solve,
I-
Kate or Barbara?
I think the problem is that Rhina has rejoined us, so she needs to be made a host by Helena.
Okay.
There, she should be able to share now.
All right.
Voila, Rhina. If you click on that video,
There
yes.
I am.
Yeah.
No improvement. No improvement.
Yes,
I told you.
And thank you, Kate. And so everyone on the call, again, we on the panel, we're so appreciative of the
Well,
volunteers of the
I'll tell you
event.
something. We are all better than the Zoom is. I think we do a lot better with language than Zoom. Zoom doesn't realize what we know as translators, that the whole purpose of language is communication.
Yes.
It's the whole purpose. And that's something that the translator has to remember. Communication first, everything else afterward. I was born in the first city from which this continent rose. Fed by the rivers of all the world, water from my fountain flows. I grew in tender Quisqueya in the valley called Cibao, shaded by caimito trees and papaya and cacao. In the garden of my first home, in my family's loving ways, I learned to sing and keep customs, tell old stories and give praise. The fruit vendor showed her platter. The candy man hawked his wares. Coffee in the afternoon, and the Virgin heard our prayers. Blood of Spain, Haiti, the Gold Coast courses through my veins, all three. Along with any newcomer, be he Arab, Chinese, Jew, for he who sets foot in my land then becomes my brother too. Later, I learned about exile, enforced when tyrants oppress. That is why I live so far from the home I used to possess. I know time and distance alter those we meet living afar. Still, despite all circumstances, our brothers is what they are. And no matter who denies it, since there's just one earth, no other, we to whom she's given birth are children of the one mother. So that's my poem, and I'm sure that some of it was not unfamiliar even to those of you who had French or Italian or Latin, because those blessed roots are there to help the translator make that bridge work.
Yeah.
And
And
I think using the same roots whenever you can is such an open door to the reader that I love doing it.
Yeah. And also, I mean, you're so marvelous at this. You keep the rhyming, the mirror image. That's the challenge, but that's what also makes it beautiful. Each time you discover the level of difficulties that you can go beyond.
Yes, you can.
And you feel so much joy from doing this. When you're looking for a word, we're searching for the perfect word. What should be the perfect word for that moment? Because when you're doing translation, any word that lands on the page, it's just a greater block of that particular word, because there are so many other words that could replace it.
Yeah. Well, you know, Jean-Dany, now it's time to tell these people our secret. And the secret is that everybody thinks we're working, but we're not working, we're playing. Because all of the arts are a kind of game. They
Yes.
have a very serious face to them. It's what Robert Frost said. It's play, but for high stakes.
Yes.
So, but on the other side of that serious face of the coin, there is this game going on. And I think the game is what keeps us, well, maybe young forever. Maybe artists are people who are young forever because they never lose their capacity for play. And I know that when I find exactly the right word, the way Jean-Dany does, every time he says "mouin," "mouin," I feel like dancing. I want to dance because all of what we're doing is related to hand clapping, to foot stomping on the floor, to dancing. So I tell students sometimes, you think you're working, but shh, don't tell anybody you're playing, you're dancing, you're making music. And the odd thing is that this game sometimes has to come into our lives at very sad moments when the last thing we want to do is dance or sing or play.
Yes.
And yet, if we have lost someone priceless, someone irreplaceable, what we turn to is poetry. It's poetry. And I don't know why it works, but it works.
It does.
It's as if we could say to reality, you can do what you like with me, but I will do what I like with it myself, because I know how to create something out of it.
That's true. That's true.
And the making of the poem is a kind of revenge.
Yeah. So let me, since we are into secret, before I read you another poem, all of you here, I'm going to tell you another secret. So what it's about, when you can't write your own work, just take a piece of something, translate it, or pretend that you want to translate it. It's a beautiful thing. It's a great avenue to get into your imagination, your own creation. You know, when I am procrastinating from doing any work that I have to do, I go to translation or I write poetry. You know, instead of going to watch a movie, of course I enjoy good movies, but before you know it, you end up writing a poem or something else. And this distraction takes you so far. The best thing is that at the end, you don't feel guilty because you create something you love. So please, I want you guys to get into this world of translation.
It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. And to discover that you are halfway there because you halfway understand something that you didn't think you could, that's a real treat. I went to Israel with my husband to visit some of his relatives there. And we went to the Museum of the Diaspora, and up on the wall, there was something that I could read, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew I could understand it. So I called the guard over and I said, "What is that?" He said, "Oh, that's Ladino." I said, "Ladino, and what is Ladino?" He said, "Ladino is 16th century Spanish, what the Jews used to speak in Andalusia." And there was so much Spanish, there was so much old Spanish in it that I really made out almost all of it. There were a few words in Hebrew I didn't know, but I asked those, and the poem was mine. It's mine. It turns out that you have more property than you think you have.
Okay, now I'm going back to my page again and check this out. Check this game. So the next poem I'll read you, check this out. You see, the poem is in French, but the title of the poem is in Spanish. It says Te espero. So when this poem came to me, the first thing that came was that, Te espero. The title came in Spanish, period. And the rest of the poem continues to come in French. And you know, what do? You just obey. You do what you have to do. You follow the poem the way it wants to come. And here's the poem. I'll read it to you. Should I make it bigger?
Little bigger.
Okay, bigger. Okay, voilà.
Ah,
Voilà.
oui.
Te espero. Je marche sans compter mes pas. Je ne veux plus me rappeler que 1000 fois j'ai contourné la ville à ta rencontre. J'ai vu d'abord le soleil, la lune, puis les étoiles. Et j'ai vu le soleil, et j'ai vu la lune, puis les étoiles. Et je marche, et je marche, et je marche. And then I dared, to go into Spanish. I said, te espero. Camino sin contar mis pasos. No quiero acordarme más que 1000 veces he dado la vuelta a la ciudad en tu reencuentro. He visto primero el sol, la luna, después las estrellas, y he visto el sol, y he visto la luna, después las estrellas, y camino, y camino.
Oh, that's lovely. I love that one.
That's translation. So, what I have to you, my dear friend, my dear people who decide to come here to this translation presentation with us, I have a secret. It's not a secret. I have it for you that I'm working on it. I didn't finish, but we're going to leave you with this because this poem, I'm going to pretend I don't have it in English, but this is for all of you to try this. What I do here, I give you in French tradition, basic tradition of some words, je, I, marche, to walk, sans, without compter, count, recon, tally, rank, some offer, And then this is for you to play with. And then I challenge you, why not? Let's start playing that joy for you to create the English translation of this poem. So you have the words here, and then this is yours to take, this is yours to keep. And as I tell you that, let me tell you, I also belong to Rhina's Kitchen. Rhina's Kitchen is a place where once a month, every Saturday, a group of friends, a group of people, we meet there for translation. We sit around her kitchen table, dictionaries, and there's a text. You have the Creole language, you have Spanish, you have English, we have French, we have all of it. And when we're trying to make meanings of translation. So that's what we want you guys to be part of. And now it is easier with COVID, forgive me to say that. We can do Zoom, we can do email, and we can continue this process. All right, so I will share this with you, with everyone who is here today. I am sure Rebecca can help us and Kate can help us because you have the email of everyone, you can send it to them. And I'll put my email in the chat. Rhina will do the same, Maria will do the same, and we're enlarging the family of translation.
Amen.
And volunteers, please forgive me. Is this recording also available afterwards, right? So the recordings will include also the screen shares as well, so that if people want to revisit it that way as well too.
Is there time?
I'm sorry, excuse me. Maria, I think, yes, the recordings will be available, but we don't know about that right now. We don't have information, but it is possible to upload a file to the chat. So if Jean-Dany wants to do that, that would be an immediate way to share.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll be able to access the emails easily. So that's probably preferable if possible.
Okay, let me do that. Let me stop sharing and then
Yes.
I will put it there for everyone access.
I want to
Wonderful.
ask a question. Is there time for another poem?
Yes, after, yes.
Okay,
So,
good.
yes, it'll
But
be time.
I want Jean-Dany to do whatever witchcraft he's going to do with the Zoom.
No, you can
Okay.
present. I'll send it in the chat for everyone.
So thank you, Jean-Dany, for sharing that. And then I'll share one and we can go back. And in the meantime, volunteers, if there are any questions in the chat, we'll be more than happy to field it as well.
Yeah.
I'm excited about having this. And again, this, everyone hopefully is feeling what we are with each other, the sense of palpable joy, a sense of playfulness with language in terms of, having it be not intimidating, but accessible and reinforcing a sense of play. I will.
The whole point is to have fun.
Yes. So,
Well,
go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Go ahead, Rhina.
Well, I wanted to read one on a different subject because everything has been about the immigrant experience so far and different languages and so on. I'd like to read something personal now. I lost my husband 5 years ago, and I wrote a poem. This one came first in English, unlike the one I read first. This one came in English because I was cleaning out drawers. You know, you have to get rid of things after a while. You have to get rid of things that people are not going to use anymore. This is called Here. Everything is here, unused but orderly, as if ready for use. A mint or two, his nail clipper, the little scissor he trimmed his mustache with, scribbled things to do, his watch, a neatly folded handkerchief that spills a scattering of change, the pen that leaked into his pocket now and then. I almost hear him now. Don't touch it, as if I were pilfering his tangled hearing aids. The snarl of keys, his red Swiss Army knife hiding its tiny arsenal of blades like legs tucked under. Glasses, wallet, wife. Each item's here, though useless as it is. I don't know why, except that it was his. And I would like to read it. This, of course, is a sonnet, which is my favorite form. I love the sonnet more than anything because it's a little box into which you can put just about anything. You can put treasures in there that you don't want to forget. You can put things that are so painful you have to keep them far away from you under lock and key. You keep memories in there so that you don't lose them. But it's a box, and it will cover any need in your literary life. So let me read it in Spanish, and you can listen for the rhymes because they're there, and listen for any repetitions that come to mind. Aquí, which of course is here in Spanish. Aquí. Todo está aquí, sin uso, pero en orden, como esperando servir. Una o dos mentas, su corta uñas, la tijerita con que se recortaba el bozo. Una borrosa agenda garabateada, reloj de pulsera, pañuelo bien doblado y al moverse llueve monedas. Esa pluma de fuente que a veces le manchaba la chaqueta. Casi oigo su voz, no lo toques. Si me acerco, como si fuera a robarle aquel enredo de audífono y llaves. Cortapluma con pullas, con patas secretas, gafas, cartera, esposa. Aquí se encuentra cada inútil cosa. No sé por qué, solo que fueron suyas. And that's what I meant by an example of something that you write, not out of joy. It dances because poetry can't help but dance. It dances, but not because it's happy, because it's doing something, because it's creating something, because it's getting even with death. And there is such a thing as getting even with everything that hurts. And I think poetry does that better than anything.
Sí.
Very powerfully stated, Rhina. And also what I appreciated with it was the music in Spanish, the vowel sounds, you know, the o, ah, just again, it's the vowel sounds of Spanish are so much crisper and highlighted more than they are in English. Does that make sense? In the English, you know, when I was listening to it, I'm carried away in English with the consonant sounds.
Yeah.
And then when we read the poem in Spanish, I was carried away by the vowel sounds. And
That's right.
I love that, you know, the being able to hear in both. And back to Jean-Dany's point, when we are so immersed in these language, we often forget, wait a second, is a poem in Spanish or in English? Because we have those, you know, the worlds of those languages in our head.
Echoes, yes.
The echoes, and then we have to pause to say, wait a second. And back to Jean-Dany's point, did I first write this in Spanish or in Haitian Creole or in English? You know, because they both live simultaneously in our heads. Wonderful, you know. And I would like to share one poem, one poem here, and also ask in this poem we'll invite the panelists and also the audience members about how do we navigate words that might be untranslatable.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example in sharing this poem. This is in Spanish. I'll start with the Spanish and then in English. Añorar, para lograr embocelar. Añoro, dice mami, el sabor temblante de la tingla que cazaba mis tíos a la medianoche. Yo, 6, desenterraba con mis dedos los huevos tremulosos. Las canciones escolares que yo, 10, cantaba la mamá ciega de mi jefa. Yo, un regalo, yo, ya trabajadora, antes de ser mujer. Añoro, dice mami, la voz de humo de mi papá, su apodo para mí, mi India, mi cabello negro, un río lacio, mi piel, coco. Añoro, dice mami, pero nunca lloro. Mis lágrimas, piedras brillantes por dentro, botan chispas en la boca, la cueva de mis secretos. Now in English.
Beautiful, that's beautiful. I love that combination of añoro, pero no lloro.
Ah, it works. So añorar,
Oh,
por lograr embocelar. Añoro, says mommy, the trembling taste of the tingla that my uncles hunted at midnight. I, 5, unearthed with my fingers tremulous eggs. The school songs that I, 10, sang to the blind mother of my boss. I, a gift, already a worker, before I became a woman. Añoro, says mommy, papa's smoking voice, his pet name for me, mi India. My black hair, a straight river, my skin, coconut. Añoro, says mommy, but I never cry. My tears, brilliant stones inside me, sparking as they rub in the mouth, the cave of my secrets. I'll stop sharing.
that's gorgeous.
Okay.
That's gorgeous. Yes.
So
But
There is a synonym for añoro, but it doesn't have the same music in English.
see, yes, so that the approximations, that would,
how much time do we have? I would love to hear about people who decided to join us this morning.
yes.
Why and
Yeah.
what happened? Are they ready to join the family? Please speak
Yes,
to us.
so Valerie, yes, so please unmute yourself, Valerie.
I'm bursting with joy to hear you all. My father was from Mexico and he came to the United States on his own at 17 in the 1950s. And as I was growing up as a child, didn't teach us to be bilingual. We picked up some Spanish because we had to. But so I have some Spanish in me, but not a lot. But what I have is very real, like it's Spanish, it's not translated English, you know. But he loved languages. Because of him, I studied also Russian and Japanese, and just to hear you. I know you discussed what's code switching and not, but just to slide through the languages is just, like I said, I'm full of joy right now. Thank you. And I translated Jean-Dany. I translated not very well, but I can't wait to share with a friend the Spanish. I think the Spanish is of Espero. I think it's better.
Yeah, okay.
It's better than my English translation. But
Okay, I'm sending it. I was still, I tried to send the file, but it gave me a mistake saying that network problem. So my network doesn't want to communicate with the network of the festival to send the file. But right now, I am in the chat trying to cut and paste the poem to send it to you, because I definitely want to keep this relationship with all of you here. I want to one day to be able to bring you to Rhina's kitchen table. And I'm sure we will be able to do that. We have hope.
I've spoken a lot, but I will say this. It's very hard when you're not a complete of any one thing. You're a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and everybody else tells you, oh, you're not. So I found in poetry, today I realized poetry is my thing, because poetry is our experience on the earth, right? and nobody can tell me what my experience on this earth is. So that's why poetry is mine.
Excellent.
Great,
Excellently
great.
stated.
Excellent,
Yes.
great.
Yes.
That was perfect.
Yes.
Great. Oh,
I tell students that those of us who are bi or tri or tetralingual are not divided people. On the contrary, we are multiplied people.
Yes.
Division makes you less, multiplication makes you more. So
And
they should be proud of it.
And in the chat, we have a comment by Patricia C. And and the person shares, I signed up because I will never miss a chance to hear Rhina Espaillat. Now I have 2 other poets to follow. And yes, I try to translate, but feel very intimidated. We hope, Patricia, that Jean-Dany, Rhina, and I have modeled for you. It's a sense of play and also connecting to Valerie's point. It's a sense of adventure, a sense of ownership. And that we can reclaim language. So for instance, I have more academic training in German than I do in my first language, Spanish. With that stated, the way that I've been reclaiming my Spanish is through poetry. I said, these words are mine. These poems are mine. 2 summers ago, I dedicated, so Añorar is part of a manuscript of poems that I only wrote in Spanish. When I woke up in the morning, I stayed in the Spanish mindset. I had my Spanish and English dictionary, and I said, voy a solo escribir en español, and reclaiming my Spanish word by word by word. And just to Valerie's point, no one can tamper with my poetry, with my poetry. that defiance is there, but also sense of play.
yeah.
Well, somebody will someday, Maria. Some translator will tamper with your poetry. And that's why, no, seriously, I'm serious. And that's why we have to be so careful when we fiddle with somebody else's dreams, somebody else's work.
So
And,
what I
and
just did,
we have to be faithful.
what I just did, forgive me for a second. It was such a challenge to put the document as I wanted to do, but that's okay. We're smart people anyway. This is what I did. I cut and paste the amount that I could put in the chat. And then now you have everybody's email. So now the connection is made. We are in touch. We hope that you're going to play with the poem we sent you and you'll keep communicating with you. And then later on, you'll share with us things that you'll want to translate on your own.
Yeah.
So you're part of the family.
Whether you like it or not.
So, and Kate, you're so gracious. So you shared in the chat that we have only a few more minutes left. We're at 3:11. This session ends at 3:15.
Okay.
Further underscore what Jean-Dany said and what Rhina is inviting us to do. This is only the beginning. If you joined us today, the relationship begins here, but does not end here. You know, we're all multilingual, accessible poets. You know, Rhina Espaillat, and when we first were preparing for this, I just so deeply appreciated even her ambition and her goal to say, you know what, and forgive me for paraphrasing, and she would love to open a translation center. Rhina, in the space that you're in right now, you called it the poetry room, right? A poetry translation room, you know, and this joy in terms of translating in community. And perhaps if there are any people with university connections or community college connections in the Boston area,
yes,
that's where Rhina's heart is.
Yes, we forgot to say that we would love a house for Rhina's kitchen and all the dictionaries we have in all the languages and this project that we've been having fun with it, but why not? Let it stay somewhere, you know?
You know, I've been trying for years now to get some college or university or library, any place with room for cultural events and people coming and going. They should have not a department like the English department or the German department or something like that. It should be a center. It should be the translation center where you can come with whatever you have, whatever languages you have, and we can trade. The way I used to trade in elementary school with all the other immigrants who were there with me. We traded in so many languages that we forgot who owned which. And we learned, forgive me, I'm going to say something rude. We learned how to swear in all of each other's languages. And it was wonderful because then we could say things at home that our mothers didn't know we were saying.
Or pretend to Rhina,
you
Rhina, pretentious for like in German. One thing I used to teach German. I said, "Ach, Haferflocken," and it's like, oh, it's like it means oatmeal. But they were Haferflocken.
It's terrific.
Too, and I love Rhina because we fall, there's a sense of naughtiness and play in terms of owning the bad words, and at the same time, it can be a love connection. German for me
Yes,
became
that's
a
right.
love language. I met my ex-husband in Germany. He's originally from Iran, and during my junior year abroad, we fell in love. So two foreigners using German as a Brückensprache, as a bridge.
Bruchensprache,
Yeah.
a bridge language,
Yes.
a bridge talk, Sprachen. Ich sprachen a bissel, a
Yeah.
bissel,
I'm bissel.
a bissel.
Playfulness, yes. Other responses?
So I couldn't keep up with the chat. Somebody wants to bring us to Salem. We will go. And we go with the language, with Creole. If you haven't heard poetry in Haitian Creole, God, this language was created for poetry. But anyway, we only have.
It sounds like something you want to eat.
Yes. And I appreciate Claude's comment in the chat. Science affirms that our brain is wired for at least 3 languages. And culturally, monolingualism is a fairly recent phenomenon and not the rule. Yes, duly noted.
Does everybody here know which is of all the continents, which is the one that is most plurilingual, multilingual?
It can be here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's here. No, which one is it?
Africa.
Oh yeah,
Africa.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because the African nations all border each other and they have to keep track of what the neighbor is up to.
Mhm.
So they learn the languages that surround them. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and each country has so many,
Yes.
so many languages to go from one to the other.
That's right.
But because we don't have much time, I think formally we have to say how grateful we are for all of you who decide to join us on a Saturday afternoon for something you did not know, an adventure. It's fun. Even,
Thank you for
what I
coming
said you
out.
didn't know, it's not translation, but our way of life, the way we have fun with it. So
Thank you for coming out to play with us.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Do the volunteers have anything they want to share to wrap up? Are we set?
Yes, thank you very much, Maria. Thank you all so much. Poets, if you have a website, socials, or a link to a book or chapbook, feel free to paste that into the chat. And I think that Barbara has a few links that she's going to add for us now. Can we get a round of applause and appreciation for our poets?
thank you for all of you, for
this beautiful crew.
It was fun.
Please
Thank
don't.
you.
I'm sorry, Jean-Dany.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Maria and Rhina. Of course, to the two of you first, but yes.
Everyone.
Thank you. Please don't forget to support the poets directly by following them and buying their books. There's plenty more amazing programming happening this weekend. If you're interested in attending more events, check out the website. You can also visit the virtual small press fair, listen to the Improbably audio tour, visit the Ekphrastic Gallery, and more. Please follow Mass Poetry on our social media accounts and sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already. The links will be listed in the chat. Any donations go to support not just the festival, but year-round poetry programming. Thank you so much for coming to this event, and we hope to see you again soon.
Buena suerte con todo, con la traducción y todo.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you all. Wonderful.
So much fun.
That was delightful.
Thank you, Rhina.
Thank you, Jean-Dany and Rhina.
Thank you, Maria.
And food for thought, perhaps a proposal for next year. Imagine that we have a workshop, or perhaps 3 workshops in terms of translation.
Oh yeah.
That would be great.
Jean-Dany, bringing your pile of dictionaries, my pile.
Yes. Can I show you?
Throwing on the table.
Everyone is welcome to mine, but I don't have an elevator. And
I can carry them.
In terms of playing with poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
That would be marvelous.
It's fun.
We have one member of our workshop who lives in her wheelchair. So her parents have to come with her and they have to carry her. And I've always felt guilty about that because I have stairs. But if we were in a school, if we were in a place with ramps and elevators, it would be so much easier, and we could have more people who have you know, that kind of difficulty getting around.
You know what I forgot to tell them, Rhina? I forgot to tell them we have American, we have all nationalities in it. You know, the fear of you don't own the language, you don't come. No, it doesn't matter. Explore to discover languages.
Exactly.
So thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Kate, for
Thank you.
gracious presence. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Pedro, for being here.